Good morning. I believe that I have hit what I believe to be an event horizon, I suppose you could call it, where, or I guess a Fibonacci sequence of some variety, where everything that I do ends up becoming some form of experiment, even if I don't try for it to be, excuse me, as long as I'm at least consistently paying attention. It ends up being something that I can learn from and grow from and potentially teach others from. It's not necessarily the typical ebb and flow of a test, as it were. I'm going to be working towards doing that, but I've also been basically recovering ground and proving theorems true that I've known for a long time, and now now that I've been proving them to myself, it feels like I will be able to then grasp the truths that already exist better in the future, even though I'm basically like being stubborn and repaving original ground. I think there's something to be dug up somewhere, probably, but I guess that's the way life will always be, won't it? So, my current adventure, willpower test, successful. Anxiety test, still potentially in the works, but results looking pretty good. Um, and then I've got a set regimen of things to be doing every day, which is incredibly rewarding uh, to to someone who doesn't feel like they have much of anything going on. It feels very rewarding to have a set something to be doing. Um, until I have the ability to actually do the work that I wish to be doing, which sounds like it's going to be a couple years in the making. And also, I am still furthering my self study in realizing why and when and how I do the things that I do, finding out reactions to situations that I'm only realizing years in the future afterwards as to why I did them, but also the whys and hows might be rather inconsequential, but it makes me feel like I'm at least doing something if I have the ability to look back and say, huh, well, that's why that is. Um, I am incredibly thankful for my research assistants, as they would be, even though they might not be what you would consider voluntary research assistants. I don't think they understand or recognize the importance of what they're doing. However, they are still incredibly valuable to me. And I think there's an underlying feeling of anxiety and doubt due to past circumstance, and also this feeling that others might then see that I am quote unquote using them for my experiments and be upset about it. However, research would indicate that certain levels of friendship have certain levels of boundaries, and therefore you would be able to reach within certain parameters as long as you don't go past them. And people will be more or less complicit in almost anything that you do, so long as you don't show it to them in a very specific light. Like currently, things are proceeding as they would be. So it doesn't matter the amount of effort I put into specific categorum, because things will be proceeding as they are proceeding regardless. There are external factors that I could be spending additional time on that don't end up meaning much. So instead, I will be attempting to figure out where is best to spend time and how and when to then have the ability to relax during the non-essential functions. That's going to be a difficulty in and of itself, because relaxation is one of my weak suits. However, I feel like that in and of itself is something to aim towards. That might be something that the next set of experiments leads to. I have a theorem or a hypothesis that the ADHD/anxiety relation might make it so that if I can then more or less manually conquer my anxiety, then I will not necessarily need to relax as much, and or will have the ability to relax should I need to. It's just, I'm not like driven to a exponential degree, as it were, to be where I am versus who I am versus where I'm going to be. I am learning to accept the now, and the now becomes gradually more and more beautiful in so doing, with and without its flaws, with and without its drawbacks and weaknesses. There are so many things to understand in any given moment, and it's kind of magical in its own way. Anyway, experiments will be continuing, probably. I should probably actually, like, start writing things down, as opposed to just, talking vaguely about them to a voice thing that won't really end up meaning anything if I don't actually quantify the data, But I don't really need to. This is all largely the attempt to granulate and conceptualize and all that. This is all. I'm trying to make something happen, but nothing has to happen, and that's what this all boils down to at the end of the day. I will be going where I'm going, regardless of if the other things happen or not, and I will be led towards my wherever I'm going. It's just people try to do what is correct, but here's something that your mind is designed to survive, not to protect you from suffering. Reality is not static. Reality is a probability. And I am not nearly as malfunctional as I tend to think that I am. I am instead inexperienced. And internalizing these things as factual and realizing that just because I think something doesn't mean it's true. Just because I think something and pursue something doesn't make it end up being what I think it is. These are going to be truths that I need to realize, that feeling is not logic. Feeling has its use, but not in every situation.